In this video, we are going to be looking at bearing and distances. Now, the first thing I would like to say under this topic, bearing and distances, is that this was very important in the olden days, especially when water transportation was very common, and it also was very good for adventurers because they needed to know where they are per time. Now, to bring this to life, just imagine you are in the middle of a deep blue sea. Obviously, you are in a ship. Now, you are just in the middle of a vast amount of water. You don't know where you are per time. Now, that is where bearing comes to play, because it helps you to understand where you are per time in relation to where you are going to. Does that make sense? So you could be in 106 degree northwest. Now, having said that, let's do some math. Now, under bearing, we've got four major directions. Four major directions. Now, the one that is pointing up, so to say, is north, and it's represented by N. Now, the direction pointing down is south, and it's represented by S. Can you see? Now, the direction pointing right is east, and it's represented by E, and then the direction pointing left is west, and it's represented by W. Now, the sun rises in the east, and then it sets in the west. Does that make sense? So north up, south down, east right, west left. Now, if you draw the map of Nigeria here, you will begin to understand something. So this is just a rough sketch. Now, the northern part of Nigeria, Kaduna, Kano, is on top, north. West, Ogun, Ekiti, Oyo, west. East, Ebonyi, Imo, Anambra, east. Then south, we have Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, those states in the south. Actually, the south in this case. But what I just want you to understand is that up is north, your left is west, your right is east, and then below is south. Do you understand? Let's try to remember again. So up is what? North. Down is south. Right is east. Then west is left. Do you understand this? So these are the major directions. Now we have other sub-direction, if you want to put it that way. And let's do that right now. Now let me draw the four major directions again. So we have north, we have east, we have south, and then we have west. Now if you see, there's an area between north and east. This area here. Can you see? That area is called the northeast. The northeast. Now there's another area here. This area here is called the southeast. So we have southeast. Now we've got another area here. Now this area is called the southwest. And lastly, we've got an area here. Now anything in this area is known as the northwest. Do you understand? Now if you look carefully, it's northeast, northeast, north. So you see that we are taking the direction from the north and from the south. Northeast. Now in this place we have southeast. In this place we have southwest. And then lastly we have northwest. Do you understand this? So it means anything within this area, any line would be northeast. Here would be southeast. Here would be southwest. And here would be the northwest. If you understand that, let's move to the next thing. Now the next thing you need to know is that if I have this, so remember north, we have east, we have south, and then we have west. Now from here to here is 90 degrees. From here to here is also 90 degrees. From here to here is also 90 degrees. From here to here is also 90 degrees. If you add everything together, we are going to be having 360 degrees. And remember, angle at a point is 360 degrees. Now, so don't forget, from the north cardinal to the east cardinal is 90 degrees. From east to south is 90 degrees. From south to west is 90 degrees. And from west to north is also 90 degrees. Do you understand? Now let's go to the next thing. Now we are going to look at how to state bearing. How do we state bearing? Now the first is acute angle bearing. So we have acute angle bearing. Then secondly, we have 3 digits or 3 figure. Both are correct. Bearing. 3 digits bearing. Now in this video we are going to be treating acute angle bearing, and then in the next video we are going to be treating 3 digits bearing. Now in order for this to be very simple for us, I'm going to give us 2 rules to consider when using acute angle bearing. The first rule is that you need to find out the direction. That's the first rule. Now the second rule has A and B. If the angle touches north or south, right. I'm going to explain what I mean by this. Then B, if the angle does not touch north or south, what should you do? Subtract. Now these are the 2 grand rules that if you follow, you'll be able to solve any question. Now let's take examples so that I can explain the rules. Now so we've got this question. State the bearing in the diagram below. Now don't forget the rules. Number 1, find out the direction. So what direction do we have here? What direction did I tell you? So it's northeast. So I'm going to write northeast. Do you understand? Now the next rule is if the angle touches north or south, right. Now we are going to check the angle we have. Does it touch north or south? Now if you look, it's touching north. This is north shade, and the angle is touching north. So we just write 30 degrees. This is our answer. As simple as that. Does that make sense? Now remember, find out the direction. If the angle touches north or south, right. If it doesn't, that's when we move to B. But if it does, just write 30 degrees northeast. Do you understand? Let's take another example. Now, so we've got this second question. State the bearing in the diagram below. Now remember, the first thing, find out the direction. Now what direction do we have when we have something in this quadrant? So this is southwest. Southwest. Now we write southwest. Now the next rule, is the angle touching north or south? Yes, so the angle is touching south. You can see it's touching south. So right, we have 40 degrees southwest. Do you understand? 40 degrees southwest. Now let's take another example. Now, so we've got this question: state the bearing in the diagram below. Now, sometimes you would not be given the direction. You are expected to put it first. So remember, top north, down south, right east, then we have left west. Do you understand? Now, first rule, find out the direction. So what direction is this place? Is this quadrant here? Remember, that's north west. Now the second rule, is the angle touching north or south? Now you can see the angle is not touching north or south. The angle is actually touching west. So we go to B. If the angle does not touch north or south, what do? Subtract. So you subtract. Subtract from what? Now remember, when I told you that in each of these quadrants, the angle is 90 degrees. So the angle here is 90 degrees. So if I have this place as 80, to find this other part, I have to say 90 minus 80. So 90 minus 80 will give me 10. So if the angle does not touch north or south, subtract from 90. Can you see and do you understand? So we are subtracting from 90 so that we can know this side, this angle here. Can we do that? So 90 minus 80 is 10. So we write 10 degrees. So this is 10 degrees northwest. So do you understand now? If the angle is touching north or south, right? If it's not touching north or south, subtract from 90. Does that make sense? Let's take another example. So we have state the bearing. Now the first thing we want to do is to put the various directions: north, down south, right east, left west. Now the next thing to do is to find out the direction. So what direction do we have here in that quadrant? This is southeast, so I write southeast. Now move to the next rule. If the angle touches north or south, right? If it doesn't, subtract from 90. Now the angle is touching east. So what do? I subtract from 90. So 90 minus 45 will give me 45 degrees. And what we just found is this part here. So this part is 45 degrees. Do you understand? So we have 45 degrees southeast. Now don't forget, we have two methods of representing bearing. The first method, which we've considered in this video, is acute angle bearing. And then we have two rules to be able to get acute angle bearing without any headache. The first rule is to find out the direction. The second rule is that if the angle touches north or south, we write the value given. If the angle does not touch north or south, we subtract from 90. I hope you understand. I hope it's simple enough.